Hey guys, welcome to the WWE podcast Mailbag. I know for a lot of you, this is your favorite show of the week, and we're not even going to do an intro, no jingle, nothing. We're just diving into emails and questions and voicemails because we have a lot. So we're not going to waste any time and just get things going. I do want to let you know that if you want ad-free, I know those ads can be pesky. You have two options, of course, Patreon, where everything is ad-free for $1 plus a bunch more stuff up the tiers. And also at Apple Podcasts, there's a subscribe now button, and there's a 3-day free trial. After that, it's just $2.99 a month for every show that we do ad-free, including the Wrestling Nostalgia. The only thing you won't get is What If, which is exclusive to Patreon. So got to get my plugs in, guys, but I know a lot of you are not a fan of the ads, and I get it, and I'm giving you a little bit of help on that end if you want to get rid of it. So, all right, let's jump in. Let's jump into the mailbag. And as always, our patrons get priority placement in the show. And our first message or email comes to us from Randy. Randy DeMonico writes in, and he says, "First, I have to say Matt Riddle stole the show for me. He was great. My God, did I crack up when he put the key, when he did the key and hand bit. It was too funny. I have a feeling, though, they may let Riddle win Money in the Bank, because then you have Randy who's jealous and he won and was in the match, and eventually maybe Riddle gets rid of him because he doesn't need him anymore, making Riddle heel. Where do you see this going next?" Well, Randy, I think you hit things right on the head, because I believe that WWE has recognized that Riddle and Randy are overachieving. There's no way that they envisioned this amount of success and chemistry between these two to this point. So I believe that Riddle is the favorite to win that match. And you're right. I think Randy may get jealous, but I do believe Riddle is an ascending star, and he's ascending very quickly. Very quickly. And I'm happy for him. He's gone to this just unwatchable D-bag backstage to working with Randy Orton, and they become magic together. I just hope that we get more time. I feel like we're just starting, right? I feel like we're just starting with these two, and there's more fun to come before one of them turns on the other. So I believe that you're on to something, Randy. I do think that Matt Riddle does win the Money in the Bank, at least at this point. Maybe my opinion will change over the next couple weeks, but I think you're exactly right. As for the Eva Marie stuff, I kind of see it different. This storyline has nothing to do with Eva. I think it was a way to eventually showcase Dewdrop. LOL, sorry, and make her shine. I do think Eva will fight eventually when she gets screwed by her. I could be wrong, at least it's what I'm hoping. Do you think Eva will eventually fight, or just be like this role model thing? So I do believe that at some point Eva Marie will have a match. She'll be forced to by Adam Pearce or Sonya Deville, more likely, to say, hey, you either compete or you're suspended or you're fired. I mean, I don't know how management hasn't done anything about this scenario yet, but it is begging for interference from a GM or or some kind of authority figure, or official, as they're now called. So I agree that, Dewdrop, i.e. Piper Niven, we'll just call her Dewdrop, okay, because that's what her name is now. I know that many of you are a little upset that we kept saying with Dabba-Kato is now Commander Aziz, and so we'll just go with the name change. I won't be referencing Piper Niven anymore. She is Dewdrop. Fine. Terrible name. But I do believe that, yes, she gets in the ring. I'm cool if Dewdrop eventually gets to ascend a little higher and have some, face off with Nia Jax. That would be an interesting match, wouldn't it? Think about Dewdrop versus Nia Jax, and I understand most of you have not seen her before, up until the last few weeks, and she's from NXT UK. She's clearly got a much different body type than the rest of the women. So it would be an interesting match with those two, a much slower paced match, but I think it would be enjoyable if done correctly. I don't think it would be like Tamina and Nia. I think it would be a little bit different, given that it looks like Dewdrop is much younger, a little more agile than as Tamina was. So anyway, I'm getting way off topic, but I think Eva Marie does fight eventually. Yes, she'll be forced to with her job on the line. Okay, I'm calling it now. I want and hope they let Liv win Money in the Bank. It would be a great decision. She can even turn heel if you want, and I think either one is great, but I have a feeling they do, even though is my favorite. I was happy to see Edge, but pissed off they could not wait till live fans, especially for our buddy Michael, to see him live. That's it for today. Oh, and Randy the patron, I like I like it. Thanks, casual wrestling fan. So yes, Randy, you are Randy the patron. That's right. I forgot that, Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan, who I know has an email later, has weighed in, and yes, you are now labeled Randy the patron, whether you like it or not. So the one thing I'll say about your final comments, Randy, I feel bad for Edge. I feel bad for Edge that they didn't give him that live return experience when they're so close. But I believe that they have bigger fish to fry, even bigger than Edge, i.e., I'm using that expression a lot tonight, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Becky Lynch, in no particular order. And I think Edge is just kind of, as big of a legend as he is actually kind of low man on the totem pole at this point, given those four. So he had to be the next stepping stone for Roman Reigns to get to his next big opponent, which we all believe will be John Cena at SummerSlam. So yeah, I feel bad for him. He's just a victim of the circumstance. That's really all it is. And I'm sure the fans will embrace the hell out of him, though, when he comes back in front of a crowd. All right, Randy, thank you. Randy the patron. On to Miller. Let's see here. Oh, boy, you guys got a ton to say this week. I mean, we're going to get through this, guys, I promise you. So if you want to have me be your Bob Ross for the night and fall asleep, we may still be going when you wake up. So let's see how this goes. All right. Miller says, hope you're doing well. Raw has been much better the last 2 weeks and actually finished the show without skipping any sections. First of all, wow. That is really impressive, for real. Jeff Hardy as a jobber. He was as a young kid, my favorite wrestler, along with his brother as the Hardy Boys. I agree, they were awesome back in the early 2000s. He should have one big run or storyline before retirement. It actually looked convincing Monday in the Battle Royal. Agreed, and I would like to see Jeff in some kind of last hurrah. I totally agree, and not just have him job all the way until his retirement. Now, do I think that run is with the World Heavyweight Championship or some kind of top title like Universal or WWE? Probably not. If he does, it's going to be real quick. I think it's going to be more at the U.S. title or in a Continental title, or he just may have a ladder match as his final match. I think that would be a very apropos. Okay, so I love Ricochet in the Morrison match. I agree. These two guys are insanely athletic human beings. It's like video games, things happening. Yes, they're truly a live video game. Insane move of Ricochet giving the crossbody from the top rope over the barricade. Camera angles were good, but one camera made a little blooper. Saw the big cushion bag they landed on, probably the same one Dominic landed on from the Reigns powerbomb over the ropes. I didn't see that, so good catch. I did not see that. I just you don't assume that a crash pad's going to be there, So that made me wonder. We are all so excited for the real life crowd to come back. They won't be able to do those things then. What do you think of them going all out now and doing crazy, insane things while they can? Well, I would too. If I was WWE and I knew that there are going to be limitations in production when I have a live crowd back, you bet your backside that I'm going to do everything I can to enhance storylines while the crowd's not there. Camera tricks, crash pads, silliness, that teleportation, right? Like any kind of magic hocus pocus that you want to get out of your system, that WWE wants to get out of their system, they better do it now. Like in the next 2 shows before they come back. So I'm all for it. This is like the last hurrah of the nonsense. So that'll be good. Great promo by Kofi. Would have enjoyed Woods getting more of a push rather than Kofi again. Triple threat was great, but would have liked Riddle going all the way rather than Drew. Anyway, glad Edge is back, but thought it would have been in front of a live crowd. My picks for Money in the Bank. Hopefully a turn Naomi for the women. A heel turn Naomi for Naomi. And I think Jimmy Uso is going to get the Money in the Bank for the men for extra protection for Reigns to avoid the surprise challenger until he turns on Reigns. Thanks for the shows. Really enjoy it. Cheers. Well, Miller, you've got a lot here. What I'll say about all these different points is I like a Naomi heel turn. I like anything Naomi. I'll take anything Naomi. It doesn't have to even be heel. Like, just use her other than in a in an unadvertised jobber match. I mean, this is a woman that walked into Orlando as women's champion. Remember that? I was there. And now they're treating her like a NXT recruit. It's not good, especially when you are thin on the Raw side of the women anyway. Like, what are they doing with Naomi? It doesn't make any sense. I'm okay with her as a babyface, a heel turn. I mean, really anything. As far as Jimmy Uso getting the Money in the Bank, yeah, I think that's absolutely possible, just to anger fans even more. Totally agree. And then you think that he's safe. Roman thinks he's safe, and then Jimmy cashes in. But I don't see. Here's the thing. The problem with that is, Jimmy Uso can't be successful. He cannot be the one to take the belt off of Reigns. I have nothing against Jimmy Uso. I actually like Jimmy better than Jay. I think he's more coherent when he speaks. I think he's got a better presence. He's got a better look. They're about equal inside the ring. But I think Jimmy is the bigger star in my mind. That said, I don't think he's nearly big enough to be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns. It has to be someone very special. Whoever, I don't know who or how that happens. It could actually be a returning John Cena. It could be The Rock. It could be Brock Lesnar. And I understand you're trying to build for the future, but I don't see anyone else on the roster that could do it that would make sense and you could build off of it. Currently, Cesaro, as great as he is, right now he's not in the same world. It's true. So, yeah, I'm fine with that theory about Jimmy, but I don't think he's the one to take it off Roman. Because Roman is on a very, very special run right now. I mean, career-defining run. Not just a good storyline, not just a great storyline, a career-defining storyline. This is altering what we're going to be talking about when Roman Reigns is inducted into the Hall of Fame. That's the kind of run I think we're on right now. We are on something special. We really should enjoy this because this is not a storyline that comes around this often, especially in this day and age. Okay, and we have our final patron who's emailed us, and we're going to read Amanda's email here, and she says, I'm making up for last week since I didn't send an email. It's been a crazy week. Yep, I agree. It's been insane. Anyways, here are my random thoughts. First off, so the WWE decides to release all this talent, but keeps people like Eva Marie. What is happening? They are cleaning house, my friend. Now, there were rumors, and I was playing in the game of, are they looking to sell? Is that why they're doing this? And it still could be, but maybe not. And if it's not, they're just reshaping, they're cleaning house, they're backing up the truck, whatever analogy you want to use. And for whatever reason, they believe Eva Marie is part of their future. Why? I have no idea. I think that the talent they released, most of it this week that we saw, and it was a litany of names, we have not seen those people on TV for a while. You kind of know what you're going to get with those individuals. But Eva Marie, first of all, she's yet to have a real match in WWE in like half a decade. She has yet to have a match since her return. Her last gimmick 5 years ago was generally the same thing, that she just comes out, doesn't compete, and leaves. So yeah, it's new management. It's last name is Khan. It's not Tony Khan. He's the one who owns AEW, but I forget his first name. His last name is Khan, and he is being brought in to essentially just reshape the company, trim the fat, just get things leaned up. I know I'm using food analogies or whatever, but that's the case. And I don't know why they're doing it, if it's for some sale or if it's for financials for their quarterly report to investors so they look good on Wall Street. I don't know. But this is the most releases I've seen in a short period of time ever. Ever. And I don't want to hear it's the pandemic because they're going back on the road. Vince has, more than enough money if he wanted to keep these people. But anyway, Molly Holly called. She wants her gimmick back. I think they should send Nikki Cross back to NXT and give her a complete work put, or she's going to be next in line for a release. Yep. I've said this and I ranted about her gimmick, and I want to make sure you guys understand. If you like this gimmick, cool. I understand why some people would. It's very positive. It's very uplifting. It to some people it could be inspirational. She is magnetic, okay, on the screen. She's very high energy. I understand the appeal from a third person, but my brain does not enjoy her. Okay, it's not my thing. I don't like it. That's called just subjectivity. But do I think that this was a last-ditch effort on Vince's part or her part to possibly just do one last thing before they either send her back to NXT or release her? Possibly. I don't know how, and we eventually will know at some point how this superhero gimmick came to be. And yes, it is very Molly Holly-ish. Now, you got to have to remember, a lot of the demographic that WWE captures is a generation that has no idea who Molly Holly is, or where they weren't even, some of them weren't even alive when Molly Holly was doing this. Like you and I and our generation, of course we know, but I don't think that our generation is the majority of those watching anymore. With the demographic, I think, getting much younger, PG environment and so forth. So yes, Molly Holly, if she called, we'll let Nikki Cross know that it's time to give her back. Speaking of release, if I was Reginald, I would ask for my release ASAP. I don't need to say anything more about that one. Yeah, I mean, he's just the punching bag for the women, isn't he? As much as I despise the New Day, as well as I have a bad feeling once WWE's in front of live fans again, they may return. I saw last week on the WWE shop that they have a New Day shirt available for pre-order. Man, why do you have to... Amanda, come on, Amanda. I enjoyed your questions up till now. You get halfway through and you drop this bomb on me. Oh, Lord. That is disconcerting. I will say this. I don't know if they ever break up the New Day. There's a case to be made for this group to never break up. Now, what's that case? Like you just saw, if they're still bringing in a significant amount of money. Now, I have no idea what they are bringing in, but it can't be anywhere near what it was. However, if they still feel like they haven't squeezed all of the dollar bills and coins out of that group yet, then they'll probably keep them together. And there is something to be said for a group that never splits, because it's very rare. Very rare. So there is that. But do you really want to not split them up for the sake of just being able to say at the Hall of Fame induction ceremony that they never broke up and they're one of the only groups that never did? Is it really that important to be able to say that as one of the resume bullet points? I don't know. I really hope, Amanda, that what you saw was a mirage. So I'm going to go with you didn't see that. That's what I'm going to go with. I have a feeling when The Fiend finally decides to return, he's going to screw Alexa Bliss over, maybe during a title match at an upcoming pay-per-view Survivor Series. Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard a peep about Bray Wyatt. We don't know. At least I don't. I've looked around. News like this usually gets kind of leaked or whatever. I've seen and heard nothing. And we all know the reason he's out, which is him just getting his head clear. Obviously dealing with the death of John Huber and Luke Harper to WWE fans, and Brody Lee to AEW. So I hope that if he does come back, number one, that first of all, he just gets himself healthy. I mean, no, of course, his health is way more important than anything could ever be. So that's number one. But if he comes back and he screws Alexa Bliss over, I'm okay with that. But where do they go? I mean, where do they go with that? Because you can't have Bray Wyatt versus Alexa Bliss. That's the problem. Like, I understand the viewpoint. I understand the logic, and it is logical. But the problem is we're in a PG era. You're not going to have men versus women. Or if you do, it's extremely one-sided where the women just beat up on the men and the men kind of cower in the corner. We've seen it, i.e. Reginald. So I get it, but I don't think that happens given that they're at a dead end if they book themselves that way. Because, like, what's the end game, right? Alexa beating the Fiend. I mean, like, what do you do? So, all right. I saw a new article on WrestlingNews.com that a rumor is that The Rock is going to wrestle at Survivor Series 2021. Apparently, the WWE wants him there to celebrate 25 years since his WWF debut at Survivor Series 1996. Wow, it has been 25 years. That's insane. You know, it'd be hilarious if he comes out in the same outfit that he did as Rocky Maivia. That'd be hilarious. Coming out with a big smile, put like a wig on his head that makes him look like the hair that he had, and he's just coming out in that. I think he had, like, if I recall, he had like blue tassels around his neck or something, and I remember Jim Ross calling him a blue chipper. It just, yeah, I mean, that would be very apropos, very poetic. I think that there's some validity to that because you could also build from Survivor Series to Mania with Roman. That's why I believe Roman is still going to be champion all the way through there. I mean, it's feasible that Roman Reigns this time in 2022 is still Universal Champion. Imagine the heat, right? But I agree. I think there is something there that The Rock versus Roman, if you're going to do it, you got to do it while Roman is this hot. Why would you leave something up to chance next year? I understand that next year's in LA. Ooh, well, that's wonderful. But how do you know The Rock is going to be physically there? What about his movie schedule? What about Roman Reigns as a heel? What if they decide to turn him out of it? Like, too many variables. Health, schedules, do it while it's hot. I understand the location is LA. Oh, perfect. Is, Hollywood. No. This is the time to do it. The story's right there. So, would it be possible if we could have a Discord chat the night SmackDown returns in front of fans? The chat we had for Hell in a Cell was great, and I thought it'd be pretty cool if we could all chat in real time during the show. Huh. I like that. Now, I do not have cable. I have Hulu. I have like every streaming service, HBO Max, Netflix, Discovery Plus. Love my Ghost Adventures. I don't have live TV. So that's the issue, right? I have Hulu, which is like just the ad free. I don't have live TV Hulu. That's like another extra $30-$40. So I'm trying to, if you can navigate me to a way that I can kind of get some free TV underground or something, then sure. And you know what? I mean, I could still open the Discord server and it's still open. You guys can chat. That's cool. But I like that. So if you know some kind of sneaky way, as you put in the end of your email here, that I called you the Wizard, so now you're going to change your name, your nickname in Discord. If you want to use your wizarding powers, maybe study up at Hogwarts and check with your professor. Maybe there's something that Snape or Dumbledore can help you with, and I'd really appreciate it. So, okay, there's some Harry Potter references. I think that might be the first time I've ever said Harry Potter on this show. So some of you are probably sighing. Some of you are probably like, oh my God, he loves Harry Potter. Yeah, I do. So there's another thing you learned. All right. So thank you, Amanda. Thank you so much. The Wizard signs out. All right. Let's get to another email here from Owen South. And he writes in, just a quick one. I'm not sure if you noticed Edge's t-shirt, but it said, I, I'm going to try to pronounce this without sounding like an idiot. Iconoclast. The meaning is destroyer of religious imagery. Ooh. This is, I believe, a tease of a Rollins feud. I also saw Rollins' interview on Talking Smack where he clearly was angry that Edge had the match that he believed was his. And I believe Seth will get involved in the Roman versus Edge match, which will lead to a feud at SummerSlam. Bye for now, Owen. Yes, Owen, exactly. Exactly. You took the words out of my mouth. I think I even mentioned that this is likely the scenario for SummerSlam. And look, I'm all for it. I love it. I love that because it protects Edge. Roman remains champion, which he should. And Edge and Rollins feels fresh. It feels right. Their styles will match up very nicely. And I think this is something Rollins needs more than anything right now. He needs to step away and feel like he's in a program that actually matters. And look, Cesaro was nice. It was a nice step up after many, many, many months of Rollins kind of in and out of a gimmick, not sure what he's doing, working with the Mysterios for, 8 years. And now Edge would really, really, I think, get Rollins back on track. So I'm all for Rollins screwing over Edge at the pay-per-view, leading to a match at SummerSlam. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Owen. All right. So let's keep things going here. And our next email comes to us from, I believe this is someone new, Fritz Snyman. So Fritz, the cool name, by the way. Really, really nice. I like it. Hope you're well. Your comments during the past week regarding the DQ of Rhea Ripley at Hell in a Cell had me thinking about the concept of the DQ in general. Rhea got DQ'd for hitting Charlotte with the announce table banner. I presume this was under the mantle of, quote, using an illegal object, which for the reasons that you pointed out are in and of itself ridiculous. But there is a further aspect of the DQ concept which I feel deserves further scrutiny and clarification. A DQ is awarded if any person other than the competitors interferes in a match by preventing a cover or the dreaded roll-up. Huge eye roll. For example, the transgression seems to be that such a person is not a legal participant in the match. The thing that bothers me is that this DQ rule is not consistently applied in WWE when it comes to tag team matches. We regularly see the illegal partner, which is not tapped in, come in and break up the cover or roll up to, quote, save the match. Prime examples of this were the match this Friday on SmackDown when both Bianca and Bayley interfered in covers without being legal tapped-in competitors. We are constantly reminded by the commentators that being legal is a thing in WWE matches. So here is my question is this. Why is such contact by an illegal partner not regarded as being worthy of a DQ? Am I missing something? What are your thoughts? George in South Africa. Oh, George. I see George is your name. However, Fritz came up at the top. So whether it's George or Fritz or both, thanks for writing in all the way from South Africa. First of all, very well spoken. I mean, very nicely laid out email. That said, I think you draw a good or really a good inconsistency. Their enforcement of rules is only enforced when the storyline they are presenting calls for it. If they don't, and the storyline isn't needed to enforce the rules, they don't. Therefore, there are really no rules, right? Because you either follow them or you don't. But your example with the tag team. Now, the tag team is, I think, a little different. And the reason I think it's a little bit different that we all overlook it, and WWE does, and I think most people do, is that with the tag team, yes, you have two competitors in the ring at the same time. But you also have two competitors who are legally a part of the match that are on the apron. They're just not actively competing. They are on the card as part of the match. Now, I understand you can only have one person in the ring at one time, and they're, quote, the legal person. But when you have two people on the apron that are billed as part of the match, they are legally a part of the match, I think it's okay to have the partner come in and break up the pin or the submission because they are still a part of the match. Now, they're not a legal competitor at the time, but it's not like someone coming in and interfering that has no business and they're not on the match at all. So that's a small distinction, but I think that's how they view it. Why they don't get disqualified. I don't think they're ever going to change it, but I believe that is the reason. At least that's what I'm thinking is the reason. So very, very good, George or Fritz. One of the two. I'll go with George because you said George. So thank you so much for writing in. And feel free to do that again or call us, of course, at 518-952-0247. Thank you so much. And let's keep things going. I don't know how many more emails we have here. I think we are getting close to the end. We have a couple. No, we have, okay. We have, let's see, Mr. DJ Kuzmo. Who else? And I know he's got a couple voicemails that I'll blend together at the end of this. So he says, I enjoyed your recent What If episode with Anthony on the What If Shawn Michaels retired in 2002. Very insightful and entertaining on how you and Anthony tried to rewrite the history of Shawn Michaels' second run in the WWE. Which, by the way, guys, the What If show that I released last week is never available for free listeners. It's only available on the Raw tier and higher and Patreon. I wanted to just give you guys a little taste of what the Raw tier and higher offers in terms of audio, which is exclusive to Raw tier and higher. So if you want to listen to, I think we've done like 5 or 6 What If segments now, and we do it once a week. We're recording again tomorrow night. Check out Patreon, guys. That's where Anthony and I break down What If every week. So 2 interesting things to note in HBK's second run that you guys mentioned on this episode that stood out to me. 1, WrestleMania 24, Flair versus HBK in Ric Flair's farewell match. If HBK retired in 2002, who would have faced Flair in his retirement match? Well, there are a couple answers here. Now, again, you'd have to pull some of these people out of their matches they were having at the time, but I think Triple H could have been a candidate. Undertaker could have been a candidate. You have certain guys that I think could have definitely done it. I mean, even, dare I say, John Cena could have been the one. The problem is that might have turned him heel. So there were some big names still hanging around in 2000 and what the heck was it, 2008? So yeah, I mean Triple H, Undertaker, Cena. You could have had all 3 of those guys. Even Jericho, honestly. Jericho could have even been the one to do it. And WrestleMania 25 and 26, The Undertaker versus HBK. The Undertaker at that time, during the mid to late 2000s, was at the peak of his career as the Dead Man. So if HBK retired in 2002, who would have The Undertaker faced at WrestleMania 25 and 26? Woo. Man, oh man, DJ, you're putting my brain to the test to think about the roster all the way back in that time. Well, I think you could have gone to Triple H a couple of years earlier. I know that they did WrestleMania 27, 28. So you could have, I guess, moved Triple H up a little bit. As I'm looking at the roster, and I did just pull it up. I mean, oh boy. Believe it or not, this is not an impressive roster. At least who could have faced Taker at that time? Oh my goodness. Daniel Bryan, believe it or not, was there on the roster. You could have had CM Punk, although he didn't do his pipe bomb yet. Drew McIntyre was, believe it or not, on the roster. You could have, and here's one. Here's a glaring one, guys. John Cena. You could have easily thrown in John Cena to face The Undertaker. You would have had a lot of boos against John Cena, though, again, if they were trying to avoid turning him heel. But John Cena is certainly a shoo-in. And, Randy Orton's there, too. So, okay. I know you've got some more questions here, DJ. So let's get to them as I navigate back here. So let's see. Finally, I have a few what-if topics that you and Anthony can do a podcast episode on in the not-so-distant future. Here we go. Oh, so here your suggestions are: what if Stone Cold never took his ball and went home? What if Brock Lesnar never left the WWE in 2004? I think we covered that. I'm fairly sure we already covered that. What if Edge ended The Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania 24? What if The Undertaker retired with an undefeated WrestleMania streak? Good stuff, DJ. I like that. Last but certainly not least, what if the WWE never purchased WCW and ECW? Whoa, that's a deep one. P.S. There's a video circulating around of Karrion Kross on a recent episode of WWE Main Event, and his entrance music and presentation is very different. No Scarlet, no smoke screen, no dim lights, and I'm nervous that Kross's epic entrance music is going to get ruined once he steps into the main roster, a la Keith Lee's initial theme music when he debuted last summer. I've got a rant on the releases from last week. Roman Reigns' dilemma, Edge's return, my praises for SmackDown, and a shout out to Mimi Burris for joining Twitter. Yes, guys, here, how about this? Let's make an official announcement. Mimi is on Twitter. She was finally coerced, finally convinced, and we paid her enough to come on Twitter. If you want to follow Mimi, it's as simple as what you think it is. Mimi, it's at Mimi Burris, MIMIBURRIS. It's at Mimi Burris on Twitter. Give her a follow, give her some love, because she is an excellent host here on the show. No question about it. So, all right. Well, DJ, I'm sure we will hear from you soon. And as far as Keith, well, you brought up Keith Lee quickly. I don't know where the hell he is. you would think he's on his way back, but we've been saying that for months. But I don't know what they're going to do with Karrion Kross. I hope they don't ruin him, as you said, but I have doubts given what they've done in the past. All right. Let's see. We have an email from Varick Cohen, and he writes in, I think that Lesnar might cause a disqualification in the Bobby versus Kofi match, and that would lead to a triple threat at SummerSlam. I just don't see Kofi losing easily, and I don't know if WWE will have heel versus heel at SummerSlam. I also think that in a way, it's harder to have a singles career while you're in a faction like the New Day. And at SummerSlam, I can see Kofi versus Brock as a rematch. Whoa. All right, Varick. Cool name. We got some cool names tonight, guys. You guys are, even if they're not real, because I had two different names last email, I'll believe, Varick, I believe that's your name. Even if it's not, I like the name. Okay, well, this is an interesting take. And I mean that because most people believe, including myself, which makes it super uninteresting, that it's going to be Brock versus Bobby at SummerSlam. And Kofi's not even going to be in the equation. However, there is a story to be told between Brock and Kofi, given what happened 2 years ago, where he beat him in 6 seconds or 7 seconds on the first SmackDown on Fox. So you could do that triple threat. I don't think Brock would come back as a heel, though. I think he's coming back as a babyface initially. I don't think it'll last long, because Paul Heyman could easily be in tow, and he can easily explain that he's managing two of the most dominant athletes in WWE history. So I know that people are concerned that Paul can't do that because he'd have to split his attention, split his time. That's easily explainable because they're on separate shows. So, which eventually should probably lead to a Brock Roman match again. But anyway, I don't think, again, so it wouldn't be heel versus heel at SummerSlam because Brock, I think, would come back as a baby. But I don't see Kofi versus Brock at SummerSlam. It's a while. I mean, I wouldn't hate it. Well, actually, yeah, I would, because I'm just not a Kofi fan. But from a normal wrestling standpoint, fan standpoint, not a twisted, demented one like myself, I think there is a story to be told there, given what happened, and it was never followed up with, and Kofi didn't care, and all that stuff that happened 2 years ago. There's something there. But I think when you ask Vince McMahon, what is he going to want at SummerSlam? Star power. He's going to want big names, big main events. And I don't think there's really a conversation to even be had if Vince was asked, hey, which match is bigger, Bobby versus Brock or Kofi versus Brock? I think it's pretty self-evident And so I don't, while I don't hate or while I see the logic in your SummerSlam main event, I don't think Vince would agree because he wants it as big as possible. I do think, though, we do see Brock and Kofi one-on-one at some point. So, geez, we're talking about all these stars that haven't even returned yet. So, Varric, thank you so much for writing in, and please continue to do so on a weekly basis if you can. Alrighty, and a couple more emails, guys. Only 2, I believe. I say that, and then I always find an extra one, but it looks like 2 right now. So, Terry Hinton from Tennessee writes in. He says, it's been a while since I emailed you. Hope all is well. Same to you. I just thought, what do you think about Riddle winning the Money in the Bank briefcase? I think it would be a good dynamic to play off of with Randy, not only having to deal with Riddle's antics, but also holding the briefcase as well. And it can keep the RK Bros storyline going for up to a year. I can see Randy's face seething every time he looks at his partner until an inevitable RKO out of nowhere happens. I think it could be a really good storyline. Yes, Terry, I already addressed this earlier in the show, so your question was answered without even knowing I was answering it. I won't repeat myself on the whole thing. I'm not disrespecting your email, but I don't want to say everything I just said, other than to say this. Yes, I think it would be an excellent dynamic on a weekly basis with these two, and I hope the RKO comes much later, not sooner. I would agree. We all know it's coming, and yes, it probably will be from Randy. There's a chance Matt Riddle turns on Randy and Riddle goes heel. It's possible. But I think, like you said, it would add a dynamic to the group it would be the glue and reason for those two sticking together. Because Riddle can say, hey, if I cash in and I win, you will be my first opponent for the championship, right? Like, you could hold them together simply for that superficial need for Randy to be champion, where he's selfishly sticking around and not attacking Riddle, so that if Riddle wins, he could be the first opponent for Riddle. So certainly it's on the table. So Terry, thank you for writing in, and hope to hear from you next week. Okay, we have an email here from Dennis O'Brien, a quick one, and says, hope you're doing well. Raw this week was a little bit tolerable. I would like to see Kofi join the Hurt Business, but I doubt that'll happen. I think Woods is turning heel at Money in the Bank and joining Lashley. And MVP, I would love to see it. I thought for Hell in a Cell matches over 4 days was a bit too much. I think Cesaro winning Money in the Bank if he qualifies. Wow. Woods turning heel. Well, I'm not against the heel turn for Woods. I'm not against the Hurt Business, or I'm sorry, the New Day breaking up. I've been for that for the last 4 years or more. But I don't know the logic behind Woods turning heel and joining the guy that just beat the holy hell out of him in Hell in a Cell in front of his friend. To me, that's the disconnect. Like, why? Like, in other words, if someone comes into my office right now, my little studio, and they beat the holy hell out of me, right? And then they just walk out. They walk out. They walk out of my house like nothing happened. And then, the next day after I pick myself up, I'm walking down the street and I see them. I'm not going to say, hey, man, can I help you with something? Or how you doing? What can I do for you? It just doesn't make sense. That said, I like where you're going because I think Woods as a heel has not been explored, and it would be interesting as hell. So, I'm not shooting your idea down. I'm shooting your idea down only in the context that it happens at Money in the Bank. If it happens, great, but I just don't see the logic for it. So, but I agree. Something is changing with the New Day, you would think. Thank you, Dennis. Okay. Let's see. One more, and it is, who do you guess it is? Any guesses, guys? That's right. Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan. Let's see if he cuts a promo on me at the beginning. All right. He says, it's Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan. Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do. Say hello to the bad guy. Gotta love Razor Ramon. Hey, at least it wasn't a promo insulting me or basically challenging me to a match, right? So maybe he's going soft. I wonder if Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan's going soft. Then now I'm sure lit a fire under him for next week. Okay, I rewatched the Bobby and Drew Hell in a Cell match, and it was truly a great match. It really was. I do agree with you, my friend. Great ring psychology, great false finishes, hard hitting, hold back, no punishment type of match. MVP interfered at the right moments. The fans, not me, got great pleasure in seeing Drew get his hands on MVP. Great table spots, except the crash mat handler's hand in plain view. Yes, it was. When Drew went through the table. A great match. After rewatching the match, I agree with the roll-up. It happened at the exact right moment. It was unexpected, unpredictable, and I think it was the right finish. Everyone take time to rewatch the match as a fan. Don't take notes or analyze, just watch the match and take in this great match. Forget the roll that will happen. Just watch the match and ride the roller coaster. All in all, a great win for the almighty WWE champion. What are your thoughts? So here, I hate roll-ups. And the reason we hate them is because we see them so much. If WWE utilized them the way they should be utilized, sparingly, as a surprise, then I wouldn't be so upset with this, but we see it on a weekly basis. Multiple matches per week use the roll-up. So I want to be okay with the finish. But the finish, since we've seen it so much and been conditioned to hate it, by extension, we're not going to be pleased with this finish, especially given it's a main event. So if we didn't have so many roll-ups and they almost never happened, I'd say, whoa, okay, you got me, cool finish. But it's the saturation of roll-ups is my biggest problem. But the way that you're framing it for me, just watching as a fan, don't analyze, don't look at this as let's nitpick and that. No, I think that that's a good way to look at it. And honestly, that's a good way to just enjoy wrestling in general. A great way to just watch any show in general sometimes is to just not analyze, pick the things that are wrong, look for plot holes. It's agreed. That is a much more enjoyable way to watch TV, regardless of what you're watching, right? Wrestling, movies, TV. The problem is, though, that, especially for people like myself that have a podcast that your brain is hardwired. We are just hardwired to look at things and go and search for things. Seek things out that don't make sense. Seek things out that are a problem, right? Instead of just enjoying it for what it is. So it's going to be hard to undo that wiring for myself anyway. So maybe somebody else other people can have the brain power where I lack it, right? And I just look at it with a critical eye. I do enjoy it, but at the same time, knowing I do this show, I have to kind of change the lens in which I look at it. But I agree. For this match, it was a hell of a match. Agreed. Please do me a favor. Refrain from using the words politics or political statement. I understand that the media in the United States is very sensitive about politics and has made everything about politics. I also understand that you're a podcast, which is a media platform. This is your show, and the First Amendment gives you the right to say what you want. It would just be nice for politics not to be in wrestling. I don't think in any way when Xavier Woods said toxic masculinity, he was trying to be political or make a political statement. Xavier comes off as a nerd to some. That's why he mentioned the G-Force stuff. He was not saying he's not the jock in high school. He's different. But because he jokes around a lot, always having fun and playing video games, doesn't mean he belongs in the ring. Doesn't mean he doesn't belong in the ring with the WWE champion. This is not a negative review. And I love your show and you're a great host. I love this platform and that you give your listeners the voice to their opinion, even if it differs. What are your thoughts? So I guess by reading your paragraph here about not refrain from using the word politics or political statement, I guess I have just violated your request twice now, right? Because I'm reading the words that you don't want me to say. And most people don't, right? You watch wrestling, you listen to wrestling podcasts. You don't want to hear anything political. You don't, right? Why would you? Otherwise, you go listen to political podcasts. There's a ton of them out there. So I hear you. I hear you that, keep it out, right? It's the old adage, don't talk about religion or politics at work. And it is a tried and true formula. They are very heated, polarizing topics. So do I regret, bringing that up as a political statement? I don't regret it, but I also respect your opinion that perhaps we even shouldn't bring it up even when it's obvious that sometimes to me it's a political statement. To me. Another example is Sami Zayn, right? Sami Zayn's another example where he brings up oppressed, he brings up marginalized, he uses all the buzzwords that politicians use right now. And whether you love politics or hate it, it's a part of your life, and sometimes you can't avoid it. And in wrestling, I think they're taking hot buzzwords, even if it's not meant to be political, and they're injecting them into some of their promos. So I'll leave it at that, Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan. I will just say, yes, like I will minimize the word politics or political statement as much as possible, and not just because of a single request, but rather it's just a good idea when you're hosting a wrestling podcast to just stay away, because it's very sticky, right? It's very, very sticky. So, but as far as Xavier Woods, that he doesn't belong in the ring with the champion, maybe on a physical level, I mean, he showed he can, right? Like he had a really good match with Bobby Lashley. He took it to Bobby Lashley. I agree. And is he as strong as Bobby? No. Certainly not. Is he have as much star power as Bobby Lashley? No. Is he going to main event, with the WWE Championship? Probably not. Probably not in his career. I don't think he'll ever main event as champion. I don't think he will. Now, I know some of you out there, yes, he will. He showed what he can do. We'll only know if they break up the New Day. I don't think that he will ever truly be a great main eventer if he stays in the New Day. Now, I know Kofi quickly did it for 6 months on the whole Kofi Mania wave. But I think ultimately, if you want to reach your maximum potential, you need to get out of a group and go on your own solo. So I just, when you say he didn't belong in the ring with the champion, I would counter that by saying, sure, he doesn't. You can say that he does belong in the ring with the champion, but only in the aftermath of the match did you realize that, oh wow, he actually did actually bring the fight to Bobby, even in a loss, and then got completely demolished and left laying in a pile of his own, I would say blood, but there wasn't any, just in a heap of body parts, and Bobby Lashley just did what he does. But in the context of how they've presented both characters, no, he doesn't belong in the ring with Bobby Lashley. He doesn't. And I understand, again, wrestling ability, that's fine. But he has been billed as a tag team wrestler for nearly his entire WWE career. And he's been a jokester, and he hasn't won a singles championship. And he's talking about hosting G4. About how many YouTube subscribers he has, as if that's some kind of pre-qualification to get in the ring with Bobby Lashley. Like, he really made no argument, no coherent argument to get in the ring with Bobby Lashley. Yes, I know we all know the outcome, and he did great. He did great in the ring with Bobby. That's agreed. But the pretense to get in the ring with Bobby Lashley, I think it was weak. It was weak. Because he laid out all these accolades, and he's 11-time tag team champion. Yep, and how many of those did you actually participate in? Number one, it's a tag team championship, not a singles championship. You also lost the championship that many times as you gained it, right? So you also lost it 11 times. On top of it, in Freebird rules in the group, again, how many times were you actually involved in the decision of the match with the titles on the line? In other words, were Kofi and Big E a part of the match while you were just standing there with a trumpet at ringside? So exactly how did you earn that championship? I mean, so a lot of his argument was very suspect. And then talking about YouTube subscribe. I mean, that's such a millennial or Gen Z thing to say, how many subscribers you have, as if it's some kind of lifelong achievement and accolade that you would put on your resume for an employer to look at. And they look at it and go, wow, he does deserve the position. He's got how many subscribers? How many followers? I'm sorry, dude, but his initial reasoning for getting in the ring with Bobby, I know it wasn't for the championship. I get it. But it was weak. And he didn't have any ground to stand on. So that's my take on it. But yeah, we'll stay away from politics. I agree. All right. Almost a superhero, Nikki Cross. No. He's not. Sure, she's not almost a superhero. It's actually pretty good. She fits the role. She's energetic. I think it's great. At first, I got Mighty Molly, the Mighty Molly vibe, but she is this gimmick, or she's making this gimmick her own. I don't mind her trying to be inspirational because it's true. You can be whatever you want to be. If you want to be a tree, a T-Rex, a doctor, or even almost a superhero, anything's possible. Well, not anything, right? Like I've said this before, not anything's possible, right? Like I think that I'm fine with people striving what they want to be. And I think Nikki embodies that. That's fine. But to tell people they can be anything, like really anything, really? I mean, like that's a pretty broad statement. Like I said, I am fairly sure that no matter how much work I put in, I will never be in the NBA, right? There are a million examples you could give of situations where no, like this is just never going to happen. Like it's just physically impossible. Now, I'm all for optimism. I'm all for achieving things that it's your dream. Whatever, go for it. But again, you have to look at the physical impossibilities of me going into the NBA. I'm 5'7". I'm 36. I have an exactly 0% chance of making it in the NBA. So like it ain't happening. So, I mean, that's just one example of 100 I could give. But I guess I'm not all for the inspirational stuff. I'm not trying to be negative, and I've already explained the Nikki Cross thing to you guys a little earlier. So, and again, if you like it, great, and I understand the appeal. I'm not buying into the appeal, I guess you could say. So, did you notice that Jimmy Uso was booked as a face on SmackDown? They had him go against Dolph as a heel. Jimmy is still getting cheered by the pumped-in crowd, and he still says he's nobody's, itch. Do you think that he'll become the right-hand man? I personally wish Jay would come back already. I like Jay better than Jimmy. You and I are opposite, buddy. You and I are completely flipped on that. I like Jimmy way better than Jay. I think main event Jey Uso is a future star and the true right-hand man. I think there'll be a struggle for who's the right-hand man. Maybe he'll have two right-hand men, and they'll take turns. It's kind of like having two best men at your wedding. Why can't there be two, right? And I don't want to see Jimmy and Jay fight for who's going to be the right-hand man. And just as Jimmy Uso says he's nobody's, as you would say, itch, he then asks how to be the right-hand man on SmackDown. Like, you just said you didn't want to be, anyway. But I like Jimmy better than Jay. I'll say that. In the men's Money in the Bank match, so far it's 4 baby faces to 1 heel, with 3 spots remaining, and Sammy versus KO this Friday to fill a spot. What 3 superstars would you add to the match? Do you think a heel or face will win this year? Congratulations to Becky and Seth for tying the knot. And lastly, I'm not conspiring to take over the WWE podcast. I could never take over your podcast because I'm just a casual wrestling fan. Have a good week. Well, see, that's exactly why you could. See, that is exactly what somebody who's not trying to, who is trying to take over the podcast would say, right? So you kind of fly under the radar. You're just some casual guy, right? You're just some under the radar, cool dude. And the next thing I know, the show is no longer mine, right? So that's exactly what somebody who's trying to take over the show would say. So I'm on to you. As far as who will be added to the match, and do I think it'll be a face or a heel? Again, one of the emailers said earlier it could be Jimmy Uso. I think Jimmy Uso is a likely contender or likely favorite to win the match and then protect the briefcase so nobody can cash in on Roman. I think that's a smart move. I think Jey Uso is probably going to fill out one of those spots. Certainly, as far as Sammy and KO in their final match, or I keep saying their final match, but in their last man standing match this Friday, I mean, I would assume Sammy wins, but I can't guarantee that. But Jimmy and Jay will probably be both in that match. Who else would round out? I mean, you could say Rey Mysterio. You could have Rey and Dominic come back just in time. So I think there's your other two. All right, Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan. Thank you so much for the email and disagreeing with me. So it's fun. It's fun stuff. Whew. See, told you guys, we had a ton of stuff this week. So it is now time to get to those voicemails that we love so much. And I believe this first one is all the way across the pond here, and it's from Sharon. So let's see what he has to say.
Hello, Matt. This is Sharon from Israel. Wanted to talk with you about a few things. First of all, a few weeks ago, the main focus on SmackDown was about important values. The story with Roman Reigns and Mysterio was a real story because Reigns beat the Earl of the Dominic Mysterio, and Rey, as his father, cannot wait until Sunday, so he has to beat Roman in Friday. And this is really logic because this is like a realistic situation. Think about it. When someone beat your own son, you're gonna wait like a week that someone will come and someone will put in music and then you will come and do your revenge? No, you will do the opposite. You will beat them in the same moment that someone happened to your son. So this is the first thing. The second thing, now in Raw you see the same thing. They're using realistic values. They're using the values of situation between Kofi Kingston and MVP. You see how they're using what Kofi Kingston had 2 years ago with the championship. And they're talking about it. That's why it feels so real. With Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley, there were no values in it. So this is the first thing, using values, realistic values, important values in WWE stories. The second thing that I want to ask you, and I want to talk about that, I can't understand why the qualifying matches to the Money in the Bank pay-per-view are regular matches. I mean, if you want to compete in Money in the Bank match, you need to climb a ladder, you need to use the ladder, you need to do all these kind of things. And what kind of things that you do in a regular match bring me to the point that you can be in a ladder match. You see what I mean? I mean, think about it. You have a soccer tournament, and then they tell you if you want to participate in a soccer match, you have to do a basketball. Why? Because they do both have a ball in it. So this is sometimes the non-logic thing that WWE do. This makes me crazy. One last thing, the women's subject. Eva Marie is just doing so much bad to the women because all she's doing is talking about how her friend looks, paper Niven, and really it's the most terrible thing that they could do. I mean, someone should be fired about it, for real. Maybe Vince McMahon. Can someone fire Vince McMahon? I don't know. Okay, thanks, Matt. See you later. Bye.
Sharon, good to hear from you. So, your Money in the Bank question about why are they just having regular matches? It is a little weird. I mean, but then you'd have to apply that logic to any match that they're trying to qualify for, that they have to have a similarly structured match for the qualification match. You get into the weeds with that, and I think they would book themselves into a corner. Now, what do I mean? What I mean by that is, if you're trying to qualify, say, for the Royal Rumble, right? If you're trying to qualify for the Royal Rumble, well, number one, it's usually you just declare it. But if they actually had qualifications, they aren't going to do it over the top rope battle royal, and then the winner gets the number one spot or the number 30 spot or whatever. You can't do that because you'll handcuff yourself with how you have to book qualification matches. So, I hear you, but I don't think they'll be able to do that because I think they'd shoot themselves in the foot. As far as Doudrop, yeah, I mean, I covered this earlier, but I will say that what the women's movement was about, what the whole give divas a chance, women's revolution, women's evolution was all about was take the focus off the body and put it in the ring. Put it on the mic. That's where we want you to focus now. And all of a sudden they're going back now to look at the bodies. We want you to look at what we have on the outside. And I'm not just talking about Doudrop or Eva Marie. I'm talking about women like Carmella that have a track record of, and a proven track record of doing great on the mic and being women's champion, are now trying to tell you to focus on her body. For better or worse, I agree. It is a complete regression of the women. I'm not saying bringing in heavier women is bad. I'm fine with it. I actually think it's a advantage when you're a heavier woman because it's always the athletic model women that they tended to bring in, and then they brought in athletes. And now when you bring in bigger women, I think it's great. I think it's great, really. I mean, because it differentiates them right away. It creates different matchups, different in-ring styles. But I don't want to focus just on, oh, wow, she's a heavier woman. Who cares? Right? But we're told to look there, so you can't help but do it and see the difference. And it's so regressive for the women. I'm not a fan. So again, not a fan of how they're presenting, not the fact that we have heavier women. I think that's actually a good thing, right? I think that's really good. Okay, let's continue on with the voicemail. So thank you, Sharon. Hope you're doing well. Always seem so busy when you're talking to me. So I hope you must be good at multitasking. You're not like me. I can't multitask for anything. So, all right, let's get to the next voicemail.
It's Kyle from Baltimore, Maryland. I would talk about the promo with the whole match with Carmella and with Morgan. I don't like the fact that Carmella keeps calling herself the most beautiful woman in WWE. Who cares how she looks? I never cared about how these women look, and who cares? Yeah, they're hot, whatever. Who cares? I care about them wrestling, So I don't. And also the other thing too, Carmella is gifted a opportunity to be in Money in the Bank. He didn't qualify to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. But yet, Liv Morgan's got to find a way to qualify, and she beat Carmella again. So Liv Morgan should be in the Money in the Bank ladder match more than Carmella, in my opinion. But that's just my thought about that. And that was it. The show call.
Hey, Kyle, thanks for calling in. I did talk about this, I believe, on my weekend review. It made no sense that Liv had to qualify. Why? Because Sonya Deville announced that she was going to be a part of the match. And then she comes out and gets in a scuffle with Carmella, and then all of a sudden she has to qualify? What? Why? It made no sense. That was very weird. It's like, yeah, you're qualified, you're in. But oh wait, now you have to qualify with Carmella. Well, zero, yeah. And as far as the whole look at my body thing, I mean, it's a running theme on the show today. It's just awful. There's no other way to put it. It is. It's just the worst, and I think it's gonna come back to bite them. And I don't know who is in charge of this women's division, but they are going back to basics, which is what fans fought so hard against and fought so hard and far to push the women or push WWE to help, give divas a chance. And they're going right back to what we view the women as in the late 90s and early 2000s, which is look at what I've got. It's all about the outside. It's all about the exterior, right? Not every woman, but there's trends happening right now that I don't like. So thanks, Kyle. Let's get to the next one.
It's kind of about her, Marilyn. Well, let's talk about the Alexa situation. I think my hope was that if it was anyone else doing this character, I wouldn't like it. Like if it was Sasha or Bailey or someone else in that, I wouldn't like it because it just wouldn't work. For some reason, it works with Alexa because of her recent past of her character, of her being how good she is like on the mic and how she is with her facial expressions. I think that's my whole point about Alexa, is that yes, I agree this is stupid and I think it's very unnecessary. And with Alexa, I just think it just works somehow for some reason. I don't know why. I can see it and I like it even though it's stupid. And I think the main point about it is the magic stuff should go away. If she wants to be this character, that's fine, but the magic tricks needs to die. That's the part that I don't like. But everything else, it's a new character. I don't, for her to be the guy's character for the rest of her career, that will get stale. So I think that was just my whole point. But that was it. Thanks for a call back.
Hey, Kyle. So, all right. Well, I would say that Alexa Bliss does have a unique character. We were all praising it for a while. All of us. I didn't hear one bad thing about it for several months. I think the big mistake they made was not putting her in a program for 2+ months after her WrestleMania turn on the Fiend. And I say turn very loosely because I still was not explained how that. No one explained to me how that was a turn. It's just understood but not explained. So that's just called lazy creative. That said, Alexa Bliss, does she need to get rid of her hocus pocus? Well, I think number one, that's the biggest complaint about her. But if she does, then what is she? Like, what is she? Just this girl that is kind of goth, or does she go back to being the goddess? Because you take away her magic, as subtle as that it is, and now that they've toned it down and Lily's gone, what is she without it? Just this dark character. I mean, I'm trying to define what Alexa Bliss is without it. Now, again, I'm not all for doing the magician stuff, but if it's subtle and it's infrequent and it's believable, I'm fine with it. Hell, I mean, we had Undertaker do it, Kane do it, among others. It just has to be done in the right context and not all the time. So, all right, Kyle, thank you so much. Let's keep it going.
Hey, Matt, it's Kyle from New York again. And I'm actually about to listen to your Week in Review with Michael Ritter. I'm about to listen to it. First, let me just say, shout out to the casual wrestling fan, because he shouted me out last week about where I go on my rumors and stuff. So, just the one time I give someone credit on here. The places I get the rumors from the most are two channels. Wrestle Talk, but most of the time, Ringside News. So if you want to see the rumors that I see, most of the time I use Ringside News. I use their website, and I also follow them on Snapchat. They have stories on Snapchat stories of rumors and stuff. So yeah, that's where I get the sources from. Speaking of them, there's actually a rumor I already saw from them, like a day before SmackDown. I watched SmackDown, by the way. I'm recording this on Monday. I just finished watching Raw, but I'll talk about that next week because I have something to talk about this time. Before I forget, I want to say it. So the rumor I heard is Edge is supposed to be fighting Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. You might have already talked about it in the Week in Review already. I don't know, but from what I heard from Ringside News, Edge is supposed to be fighting Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. And if you saw SmackDown, Seth Rollins did say he wants to be Roman's next challenger, but actually it's going to be Edge at Money in the Bank. So what I think is going to happen is Seth's going to cost Edge the match at Money in the Bank because he's going to be mad that Edge got the title shot before him. And he's going to cost him the match. That's my prediction. And then that's going to start a feud with Edge and Seth Rollins, and they're going to fight at SummerSlam, and maybe like the week after Money in the Bank on that SmackDown, Roman's going to be like, I beat Edge again. Now I beat Seth Rollins. I beat everybody. So not Seth, my bad. He'll say, I beat Edge. Who's next? If it's not going to be Seth Rollins, who's it going to be? Then John Cena's going to come out. That's my prediction of what's going to happen. Also, one quick thing about Raw. Drew McIntyre getting in the ladder match, getting getting a possible title shot again. Not happy about that. Anyway, before my 3 minutes runs out, thanks as always, and I'll talk to you next week.
Hey, Kyle. Well, thanks for plugging other shows on this show. It's very much appreciated. I'm joking. It really doesn't bother me. That's fine. They are very good shows. Now, as far as the Rollins thing goes, yeah, I mean we've covered that here pretty extensively about how we've come to the consensus as a group that Rollins will probably interfere, screw Edge, and they'll main event or be one of the main events at SummerSlam. And I'm fine with it. I think it freshens up both guys. I think both guys need one another, and it'd be fun to watch. And it's the first time ever that they have, I believe, first time ever that Edge and Rollins have had a match together. And they love their historic moments, don't they? They love their first time evers, and they'll get one at SummerSlam with Edge and Rollins. Now, I know you're not happy about your winning the Money in the Bank, but again, I think that there's zero chance of Drew McIntyre winning that match. And you also have to look at the fact that who else would have won that, and it hadn't made sense. They're trying to build Randy and Riddle, and I think Riddle has a high chance of winning that match. And as I alluded to earlier in the show, it'll probably play out over many months with those two. I just, I don't know AJ Styles, what would he have done? He's part of the tag team champions. I mean, if he has a match with the Viking Raiders, he can't compete in the Money in the Bank ladder match. It just, unfortunately, it made sense that Drew won that match. So, all right, let's keep it going.
Hello, WWE Podcast World. This is none other than DJ Kuzmo, back at it again on your Mailbag show. If you are living out here in the United States, more specifically in the Northeast area, we are experiencing a heat wave. So do as much as you can outside, but chillax inside of your nice air-conditioned rooms because the dog days of summer are definitely here. But first and foremost, I want to just have a quick moment of silence to the releases of those wrestlers, both men and women, that were released last week. Just a quick moment of silence. Okay, now talking about what happened last week with the releases. I saw the names and I was surprised. I'm like, okay, one of the names that one of my favorite tag teams from NXT, Breezango, was released. And I'm like, these guys, I love Breezango, by the way. Very hilarious tag team. They had some very hilarious entrances coming on NXT. And now they're not there no more. So I'm like, why have these guys on the roster for so many years, not knowing what to do with them, and then release them? Everrise is another example. I was now starting to get emotionally invested in this tag team called Everrise. They had a program last week with Hit Row and NXT, and now they're not there no more. And this is the case. I don't know if this is the final release, but I really hope that I don't want to have to do any more goddamn rants about these releases. But WWE is a billion-dollar company. How can we be having these releases occurring so often? And, I can't even imagine that in the Attitude Era that we would have this. Not even in the Ruthless Aggression Era we would have this. But I will talk to you next time with some more. So I'll talk to you. DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag show. Speaking about releases, another set of releases that happened last week, pretty much the entire roster of WWE 205 Live. And most of these guys have been with the WWE for such a long time, and now they got released. So I don't know if this is pretty much the end of 205 Live as we know it, but it's kind of ironic that they actually had a couple of matches scheduled right around the time when they had these releases, and now, most likely, there is not going to be a 205 Live. So hopefully, I wish all the best to all of the wrestlers from this past week, WrestleMania week, and even last year. I wish all of them the best, because this is a great time for wrestling fans. This is a great time for a lot of these guys and gals to get out there, get some opportunities, because in the WWE, I don't know what's going on. So as they get their chances out there, I just wish the best for them. I want to talk about what's going on SmackDown. first and foremost, I gotta say, it is tough to be Roman Reigns, our Universal Champion. You got the family saga of the Usos. You now even have Seth Rollins interjecting himself into the title picture. And wait a minute, folks. We got the return of Edge. That's right. The Rated R Superstar is back on the blue brand. But I was a little bit surprised as to why, Edge would come back in the Thunderdome, and of course in front of no fans. Why would he come back so soon? I was really looking forward to see this match at SummerSlam, and now it's going to be most likely at Money in the Bank. But overall, SmackDown has continued to be a very strong, consistent show. 2 hours of great program all around. But like I said, it's tough to be Roman Reigns right now. So hopefully he stays focused. And last but not least, I want to shout out to Mimi. She is finally on Twitter. You can follow Mimi Burris on Twitter. And I wish all of y'all a very good week, and I'll talk to y'all next time.
Ah, yes, DJ. Awesome to hear you, and I'm glad I stitched both your voicemails together instead of separately that I sometimes forget to do. So good to hear your voice, and I sense the passion in your voice, the really the disappointment, the anger, the frustration over all of these releases. I have never seen a time that has this many releases in such a short period. I said that earlier in the show, and it's hard because you have to humanize them. You have to humanize these people because they are human beings. They are human beings. I mean, they are working for WWE, but they have expenses. They're probably living, I don't want to say paycheck to paycheck, but what if they're not living within their means? I mean, it's all relative. You can have somebody making $40,000 a year that has more money than somebody that's making $100,000 a year. If they're not saving, they're just spending what they make. So you never know what someone's financial situation is, even if they work in WWE as a performer. Certainly, it is hard. And I know you mentioned Breezango, and I didn't really follow them much in NXT, but I do remember their skits on SmackDown of them being the fake police and all that kind of stuff. They were entertaining for quite a while. I remember them very well. And yeah, it is hard, no massive names off this one, but if you're wondering what's going on, I think it's just again, cleaning house, getting rid of everything that they don't use. I don't think that the WWE's in financial dire straits, but I think it's more of just an image change. It's somebody coming in and implementing their own vision. And it's clearly got Vince McMahon's stamp of approval, though. And yeah, Edge back at the Thunderdome. It's certainly not ideal for Edge, I'm sure. Instead of getting cheered by a bunch of LED boards, he'd rather be getting, blowing the roof off of an actual arena in front of human beings, not just LED boards. But as I said, he's a victim of circumstance because he has to get the Money in the Bank because they have a bigger opponent for him in mind for SummerSlam. There's just no other way around it. Otherwise, why would we do this? So, DJ, so much appreciation for you calling in and emailing and taking the time to do that. Certainly, it does take time, especially emails. So thank you so much, DJ. I'm sure I'll hear from you on Twitter or Instagram or email, whatever it may be. And as you say, since I say, I guess we all say, I'll talk to you next time. All right, let's keep it going, guys. Not too many more voicemails, and we'll close the show out.
Yo, Matt, it's Brad from Pennsylvania. How's it going, buddy? I'm just going to start off by saying Raw sucks. Raw sucks. Raw sucks, and Raw is very confusing also at the same time. I have no idea what they're doing in so many different aspects. The Nikki Cross superhero thing, we'll just start there. So stupid. Drew McIntyre going into the Money in the Bank match, also stupid. Confusing is the whole Alexa Bliss program. Also confusing is the whole Riddle and Randy thing now. That's starting to become a little confusing. Also confused why Randy wasn't there this week, or if that was all, just a work, or something happened. Who knows? But anyway, I don't know where to go from there. I mean, SmackDown is so much better than Raw at this point. It's not even funny. It's crazy to think that Roman Reigns is actually just pulling that much weight right now, that he's making pretty much an entire show that much better. But now that Edge is back, I'm totally interested in that. Still interested in, that's what I meant. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I mean, didn't Kevin Owens just say he was taking a vacation and now he's back like a week later? But I don't know, man. I just very confused, and I think Raw sucks very bad. That's all I really have to say today. I wish I had more for you, but unfortunately, that's all I got. I'll see you, Matt. Let's hope things turn around.
Well, Brad, I guess maybe if you were a little clearer on your message, I would understand. I had to sift through it, and I had to get some transcribers in here and kind of just really put together a team of people to decode your message. And I think we came up with that you don't like Raw and SmackDown's better. I think. Now I could be wrong. I'm just being a jerk. So I actually laughed when I heard the first thing that you said is Raw sucks. I did. I laughed. Of course, I put myself on mute. But I was laughing when you said that because I'd never had anyone do that where they don't even like start with any reasoning. They're just like, Raw sucks. It made me laugh. So seriously, thank you, Brad. Now, it is confusing. Raw is confusing, and it shouldn't be. This is an entertainment show. SmackDown, as we all know, really inarguably is a better show. And Roman Reigns isn't just carrying SmackDown. He's carrying the entire company right now. That's how important that storyline is. It is easily carrying the company. Alexa Bliss, I know it is a bit confusing there. KO and Sami Zayn. And I thought Kevin Owens was going on vacation too. He tweeted out, I'll see you guys in a little while, which usually means like, at least several weeks to several months. And yet, boom, he's back. And he's, in a last man standing match next week with Sami Zayn. So I don't know if WWE cut his vacation short. They said, F you, we need you, the hell with your family. You're going to work for us. They've been known to do that. And unless he wants to get future endeavored, right? I mean, there's also that fear of losing your job. What a great company it sounds like working for. But yeah, it is a bit confusing. But if you don't like Raw, then again, you have SmackDown and it balances things out pretty nicely. So Brad, thank you so much. And you're just complete direct honesty. It's awesome. So, okay, let's get to the final voicemail of the night.
Hey man, it's Justin from Maryland. I was just calling to get my thoughts on SmackDown and Money in the Bank coming up. So I love how Seth Rollins approached Adam Pearce and say he deserved a title shot. I honestly thought that they were actually going to go with that until Edge came out. So, it's going to be Edge against Roman Reigns. Of course, Roman Reigns is going to win. So I think that's going to set up Edge against Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. But what do you think Rollins is going to do at Money in the Bank? Do you think he's going to fight Cesaro again? Or do you think he should be added to Money in the Bank? Because SmackDown hasn't finished their qualifying matches. So who do you want to see from SmackDown in the Money in the Bank? And what are your picks? I don't see anybody from Raw winning. Definitely not McIntyre, not Riddle, or definitely not Ricochet. So I think it would be someone on SmackDown. If it's not Big E, it would be one of the next qualifiers because I don't really know who could win it, especially with the ones who are in it right now. So I think that's it. Raw was good this week. I kind of wanted Randy to be in the Money in Bank. I felt like that would have been interesting. I don't think he would have won, but that would have been cool. But, Drew, he's going to get some good spots, we're going to get a couple of Claymores. That's always fun to see. We don't really see him do it that much anymore, so it's going to be cool to see. So that's it, man. Just wanted your thoughts on Rollins and the Money in the Bank match, and I'll talk to you soon. Hey, man, it's Justin from Maryland again. I know this is my second voicemail, but I was just sitting there thinking about the whole Seth Rollins situation, and just wanted to ask you a couple of things about the Edge Seth Rollins situation. So I thought that for a second that they were going to turn Rollins babyface because of how his demeanor changed when he talked about how he deserved the shot. So when he faces Rollins when Rollins faces Edge at SummerSlam, who do you think is going to be the heel and babyface? Because it seems like Edge is kind of like in between. Like, he shows a lot of aggression, but he's not really a heel, but he kind of acts like it sometimes. So maybe they can turn Seth babyface against Edge because Edge basically just came back after, a couple of months and just took Seth's spot. So maybe they can turn Seth babyface, but I'm not sure how it will work. So I just wanted your thoughts on that. And I think that's it, man. Thanks, and I'll talk to you next week.
All right, Justin. Well, again, if you've listened to the show up to this point, some of your questions may already be answered with what I think is they're doing with Rollins. But I didn't answer if I think they're going to turn Rollins babyface and Edge heel. It's interesting because Edge has been in between for quite a while. However, this past week, he kind of solidified himself back towards the babyface side of things, spearing the number one heel in the company, number one heel probably arguably in the industry, Roman Reigns. I mean, so you kind of endear yourself back to the fans there. Daniel Bryan's not here to make things muddy and murky of, well, what is Edge? Is he really a heel? Is he not? It's clear they've settled on Edge as a babyface at this point. However, in SummerSlam, once Rollins screws Edge, presumably at the pay-per-view, and they set up their match, I still believe that Edge is the babyface. And the reason is I still believe fans want that big moment with Edge. They got screwed out of it with the pandemic, just like they got screwed out of it with Drew. The difference is Edge hasn't been oversaturated and overused, where McIntyre has. So they want that embrace with Edge, and I think they'll get it. And I do believe it'll be heel Rollins versus babyface Edge. I don't want a double turn here because I don't think Rollins is a good babyface at all. Where Edge can play both, Rollins is much better as a heel. Much. It's not even close. So I think that's the way they'll play it. That said, I do believe down the line, maybe in late 2021 or probably into 2022, they will eventually turn Edge heel. I mean, make him a dastardly SOB, back to the rated R superstar, the ultimate opportunist, whatever you want to call him. And I do believe we'll see it before he calls it a career. So I don't think they'll do that because of the reasons I just stated, but certainly there's a case to be made for it. And as far as my pick goes for the Money in the Bank men's ladder match, I do believe it could be Jimmy. I think Jimmy's a solid pick. Excuse me. But you also have to look at Riddle and the case we made earlier of Riddle carrying it around, and the interaction and chemistry between Orton and Riddle over the next several months could be fun to watch with Riddle holding that briefcase. So it's either Jimmy or Riddle on the men's side. So I think it's going to be a fun Money in the Bank. And with fans back, it's going to be that much better. So, all right. Well, Justin, thank you so much for calling in twice and giving your thoughts. Always fun and intelligent from you. And certainly please call back next week for the mailbag. And thank you, everybody, for listening this week. It's always great to hear your voices, your thoughts, even when you disagree with me. That's what's great. That's what's great. It makes it fun. And no political stuff, Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan. No political stuff. Alrighty. Thank you, everybody. As always, if you want an ad-free experience, head on over to patreon.com/WWE podcast. For $1, you get everything ad-free. Or you can head on over to Apple Podcasts and click on the subscriptions. You just look at the page and click subscribe, and 3 free days, and then $2.99 a month after that. So thank you, everybody. Much appreciated. Give us a 5-star rating and review. And as always, I'll talk to you next time.